That duck and that thrust, that's very small sword and very rapier, actually. That's gonna be a very top-heavy weapon. If you're gonna use that, you're not using that one-handed.
I'm beginning to think your face would look better black and blue.
Oh! That escalated really quickly.
That's really quickly. Hey there, my name is Andrew. I'm a HEMA practitioner, and I've been practicing HEMA since 2013. I primarily fight longsword in both the Italian and German tradition.
I am Paul. I've been practicing HEMA since 2005. Also riding horses and jousting since 2007.
And today we're taking a look at gameplay footage from Assassin's Creed. I'm very curious to see how they portray their sword fighting.
I've seen some really, really cool small sword fights. It's tricky.
Small sword, Koli Schmard was the Spadroon.
It was a little earlier, but they probably still had them.
Gonna be a very different beast. The moment you turn your back to someone, they stab you. Oh, he's using a dagger. That's interesting. Not inherently a bad thing, though.
It's rough parrying with a dagger.
It is rough, but you can do it, and there are manuals that show how you can parry a sword both with a dagger then close to kill them.
Those guys are closing really close. That's something I see really often is everyone standing way too close to each other in games.
Normally, that ice pick or reverse grip with a dagger we'd be complaining about, but not here. I mean, this time period, it's still completely valid.
There!
Ooh, yes, there you go. Boot to the bollocks. Thank you, Fiore. And yep, another guy tried to come up, he killed him. Third guy was not fast enough and he killed him. That is honestly how quick it can be, especially with someone who knows what they're doing.
I do like how fast it is and how it's essentially one wound and you're out.
I'm beginning to think your face would look better black and blue.
Oh! That escalated really quickly.
That's really quickly. This is Ottoman Empire, I believe. So this is where you have side swords. You're transitioning from an early to later traditions of sword play. Ouch. You wouldn't be able to swing that mace that fast, though. It's a very top-heavy weapon.
Yeah, they're kind of showing their hand with those boffer weapons they use for mocap.
Assassin's Creed 3, American Revolution.
Yep. Oh, I do.
Tomahawk.
I do like the tomahawk. And
there are actually a handful of manuals from this time period that show how to use the bayonet mounted on the musket.
Is the main character holding a saber?
Yep, he looks like he's holding a saber. That's
I like
perfect
that.
Period, and it's very quick. It's actually even quicker than longsword.
The little flippy jump is a little silly, but I'm impressed with this, generally speaking.
Go.
That's cool. And I actually don't mind the slow motion as well. You can kind of zoom in on the action.
Yeah, that will not save you. These musket balls are 50 caliber minimum, if not more, but they'd still shoot through the man, and you couldn't use them as a bullet shield. It would likely go through him and you. Pirates!
Oh, this is
Caribbean.
Pirates.
There we go. That's quick.
So he's got cutlasses, I'm assuming?
Yep, cutlasses, similar to sabers, not quite the same, smaller, heavier, but they work. Dual wielding is not as historically inaccurate as people think. I mean, if you want real badass, you don't necessarily go to the guys who are on land, you go to the Marines, you go to these Navy guys, because when you're on ship doing this stuff, you can't run. You run, you fall off the ship and drown. You fight and win or you die.
I hate that calling it dual wielding. It's a made-up term we've made up in the 20th century.
That's fair. I just use the term as something that everyone else
people
knows.
know what they mean, yeah.
But to use a weapon in each hand, yes, that is very common. Arguably, sword and shield is
two weapons.
Because that shield is not just there for defense. You can use the edge to bash them in the face, to body check them, to keep yourself safe. The same weapon doesn't have to be used solely for attack and defense. One can be attacking, one can be defending, and vice versa, as needed.
I think the reasonable criticism is using the same weapon in both hands. It's more uncommon because it's just not a very good idea. Anything you can do with that second sword, you can do better with a shield or a dagger. Just a different weapon, like, sword and axe, sword and shield.
Pirates and sailors used what they had. Most battles weren't to the death. Most battles were to who lost their nerve first. Not to mention that if you die, your buddy who's fighting right next to you now has his back exposed to the person who just killed you. You better get this right. So dual wielding in that situation is not unreasonable at all. Assassin's Creed Unity. Yep, this is during the French Revolution. Interesting way of using a cut and thrust sword. You don't need two hands on it. Swords at this time started to become thinner and leaner.
I think the thing that most impressed me about this choreography is he uses people as shields while dealing with other people.
That duck and that thrust, that's very small sword and very rapier, actually.
So now we're on Syndicate.
Syndicate, this is 1800s London. You can't carry a sword anymore unless you're an officer. The weapons have to be smaller. Again, this is where you'd see a lot more bare knuckle boxing, which this isn't, but it's quick. Assassin's Creed Origins. That is way larger than any blade I've seen any Egyptian use.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Also with the reverse grip. Killing me, Smalls, you killing me?
There are very few examples of a blade that large.
Was it Bronze Age or Iron Age?
It was
Cleopatra, right?
Yeah, Cleopatra.
Iron Age, okay, yeah.
It was still Iron Age, so it wasn't that they didn't have iron weapons, but iron is much more,
Brittle.
well, it's much softer than steel. That's gonna be a very top-heavy weapon. If you're gonna use that, you're not using that one-handed.
I get the feeling like they sort of took off on the God of War aesthetic, because there's a lot of sort of godlike fiery stuff happening. Odyssey.
This is Odyssey, this is during the Peloponnesian War. The costuming there is actually pretty good. You would not be doing those kind of strikes against someone using that though. There's a reason heavy infantry was used for a long time.
That was weird, the guy was on the ground, he just picked him right up. That's a little silly. I do like that the guy gave him trouble because he had armor.
I mean, there's a reason the Persians had trouble against the Greek heavy infantry. It was a nasty surprise.
I'm not seeing much in terms of technical stuff. It's many, many moves, many, many attacks that they're sort of staggering
But
behind.
at least it's fast. The speed of the blows here is not too dissimilar from what we would do. Spear fighting is another part of HEMA that doesn't get a lot of attention, and that is a lot of fun. And honestly, in a battlefield situation, those pole arms was your primary weapon. The longsword everyone loves was relegated to being a sidearm, similar to how in a battlefield, your rifle is your main weapon and your pistol is your sidearm because the rifle has a much longer range than your pistol. Despite what we've said about how awesome knights were, knights didn't underestimate peasants. Peasants were the ones who worked the fields and they lived very rough lives. Don't underestimate a peasant and a staff, especially someone who knows what they're doing. You can have 3 or 4 blows coming at you in a matter of seconds.
I feel like the best example so far was the Revolutionary War one,
but
in terms of the physics of the thing.
These games are reflecting aspects of what we do that's not really reflected well in other games and at the expense of others. They're going for faster combat, which is in some ways better because
and like fast. Very few kill shots. It's like 1 or 2 hits and they're down. That's I appreciate that as well.
These Assassin's Creed games, I have not played some of these games in years, but I want to go back immediately home and start playing right now.
Nice.
And again, I hope you guys learned something from this. If you are at all curious about HEMA, please find some clubs in the area, or even try finding us if you live in our area, and you can join us for practice.
If you like these videos, subscribe to Gameology on YouTube or on Facebook.
Have a good day.
Cheers, folks.
Please use
Well,
that.
I did it already, so you can use whatever you want now.
Too late.
Call Suda, HEMA expert. Suda, also HEMA practitioner. I'll try that again. Do that one better. Let's do better.
Do one better.
We can do it better.